and paste so bright, so neat. Folding papers, color sweet. Digital dreams with just one click. Craft along, get your fix.
Hello everybody, it's Jody from Life by Design, and welcome to today's tutorial where we are doing a lollipop design. So this is our little mouse Valentine, and it goes with our card that we made earlier. I don't know if you were with us or saw our tutorial on our mouse card, but this is matching in collaboration. But if you just want to do the lollipops, it's a great gift for some of your friends, co-workers, and kids, and so forth. So let's get started on how to put this cute project together. And we'll get started with our little gray mouse here. So we have a few pieces. Let's stick him in the corner so you can keep an eye on him and he can be our guide. And I want to show you some of the pieces we have here. So first of all, we have the base piece, and this is the piece that is going to hold all the others. All right, so this is going to hold the lollipop. So we're going to set that aside. We have this insert piece, so that's going to go inside to hold the lollipop. And then we have three shapes for the face, and it goes in this order. The back is for the white of the eyes. Then we have the black for the actual eyes, and then the top layer. So when you put it together, you have the whole eyes and the white of the eye. This piece is the nose that goes on top. And then we have some little feet pieces that are going to attach to the body, the ears, the mouth, the little hands to hold the heart, and the tail. Okay, so now that we see all the pieces that we have, we're going to set them aside and we're going to start to assemble this. So to assemble, you need just a couple items. First of all, you need a scraper tool or a bone folder so that you can fold and score the lines really quickly. And then you need your liquid glue, right? If you have a fine tip nozzle, that's even better. And then last is you're going to need some fasteners, some round Velcro dots. And I just got this at Dollar Tree. So those are just some of the items that you need. And we're going to get started here. First thing we're going to do is take our scraper tool. And we're just going to fold it at the score line there. Just make sure it's secure, both sides, so that it will sit up like this. And you'll see these do stand on their own. So you can put another piece of candy if you don't want to put a lollipop in there, and that works as well. All right, next thing is we're going to fold this insert. So you can see the score lines here. And I'm just going to fold that in on both score lines. And we're going to set this aside. All right, so this is actually going to sit up like this, and we'll set that aside, and we will set our base aside. So let's work on the face now, and we're going to start by gluing these three pieces together. So we're going to start by taking the black piece and gluing it to the white of the eyes here. So since this has holes in it and this does not, we're going to add the glue to this one. Now, just make sure that before you start that everything is facing in the right direction based on the tuft of the hair. This is all symmetrical, so it's basically even on both sides except for the tuft of the hair. So if you decide to do it this way, just make sure everything is facing that way. So it was made where the tuft of the hair like leans to the left. So that's what we're going to do. All right, I'm going to flip this over and then just add some glue to the outside. And it's the most important. So we want to get these edges fine around there. Okay. And then you can fill it in. All right, so I'm going to use some tweezers to flip this over. That way my hands don't get dirty. What I'm going to do is match up the tuft of the hair in the top of the ears. And if I match up that tuft of hair specifically, the rest should fall right into place. So it just gives me a little moment of to wiggle it around. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. It just gives dimension. But this should fit nicely where you're not going to see a lot of color coming out of that. All right, now what I'm going to do is add this top layer, okay? So I'm going to flip this over. Once again, add glue to the edges and then fill it in. All right, let's flip this over. Once again, we're going to line this up by the tuft of the hair. Make sure the ears are all even. And once they are, let's commit to it and flatten that. All right. Okay, going quickly. Now we're going to just put the mouth on. I'm going to hold this because it's much easier, and I'm just going to outline this and add some glue to this. Since I'm holding it, I don't have to worry about tweezers. I could just fit this right at the bottom. I'm going to put it flush to the edge, but just making sure it's centered. So I'm leaning it down so it's going to the bottom. I'm going to just drop it because I can't see too well this centering of this, and then boom. Okay, so I'm just making sure it's even on the outer edges. All right, now this, we're not done with this, so we're going to now add the mouth and the ears to this. And if you notice, I'm going to pull in my white one, my white mouse, and isn't this so adorable? And what I did is I inked it up on the outer edges, so it gave a little pink to the cheeks, the nose, around the ears, and you can't really see, but the belly also has it, and a little bit on the hands, and it just makes so much more of a difference. So if you have a little inking, you could come around with some just like dark gray or some light black there and just ink these up. Now you want to do it before you glue it together. You don't want to do it afterwards, but there you go. Okay, now let's add the ears. There's no real, I want to say right or wrong way to put the ears on, but just make sure they are going the right way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together to make sure that they fit, so that when I flip it, so I'm going to take them apart. I'm going to flip this one so that they are the correct way. Now, the way they'll be positioned, you can position them any way. There's no right or wrong way. That's what I want you to know. Some people like to center them. I put it a little bit further at the bottom to give it the illusion that this is the inner ear and there's a little bit of the ear that's kind of curled over. So I'm going to make it even. Let me point to this. I'm going to make it even around the circle down here, but this is going to be less and there's going to be more space here. Okay, if that makes sense. That's how I'm going to glue it. And there's no right or wrong. You can do it any way you want. Once again, I'm going to hold this, add my glue. I'm going to use the tweezers because I could see a little bit better. My fingers block my view, and this way I can angle it the direction I want and make sure that it's even down at the bottom. Whoops. And it's fine if it's not, because then, but what I'll do is I'll try to do the same thing on that side. So I really want uniformity, not so much perfection. So once again, I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to lean that in. And I'm doing this the same way. So it looks pretty similar now, and nobody is perfect. Nobody's face is perfect. So if this isn't perfect, you don't have to worry about it. All right. Now, the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the mouth to this. So I want you to understand the way this mouth works. So I have this engraved area, and that shows you where the mouth sits. So if I want a pink mouth, I'm just going to glue right in there and add this to it. If you want, however, and let me pull this guy over. If you want, I like the dark. I feel like that stands out a little bit better. So in that situation, if you want to keep the dark, you can trim this off and then just use the nose. And So here's the difference. So you can see the difference. I left the pink on this one, and I like that way, but I liked the little darker. I feel like this stood out a little bit more. So I'm going to just snip this bottom here. And I'm going to put that aside, and I'm just going to put this right on top so I know where it's going to go, because this is foolproof to knowing where it's going to go. So I'm going to put just a little dab, and this way I'm going to use my little jewel picker here to pick this up and just position it right above that mouth area. Now it depends how high you want to go. I originally made it to where it's not quite flush. There's a little edging, and that way so the nose stands out against the mouth a little bit more, but you can push it up higher. It's totally up to you. Okay, now with that, so the face is done here. In this situation, I want you to understand this, because I used a darker color in the back, the mouth came out prominent. But if I'm using a color like white, you're going to see the mouth is white in the back, so you might want to use that pink. In this situation, because the pink was too light against the white, what I did is I just took some ink, and it looks really ugly if you pull this off, but I just inked up this area behind the mouth so that when I laid it on top, it looks dark. But I want you to understand why this is dark, okay? So you can do that. You can take a marker or anything and just color this area in, and that way you're going to have that inked area. I wouldn't try and draw it on there, because if you do, it's going to get on the edges and it's going to look really sloppy. So before you glue it down, just ink up this little area there and you'll be fine, okay? Okay, we're moving right along. We're almost done. So I'm ready to put this on top, but before I do that, I want to add the heart and the feet. So the way this is going to go is first you want to put the heart on and then put the face on. So with the heart, the only thing you want to do is make sure that this is put on even, because it's round in this area. It's very easy to accidentally put it sideways. If you want it that way, good. You know, that, like, more power to you. That's fine. I like to have it even, so I want to make sure that this is centered and going on there proper. So another thing is when you're putting the heart on, I'm going to flip this over so that you can see when it's lined up, some of the heart is going to stick out. So you don't want to glue all the way to the edge on this. So when I'm gluing this, I'm just going to glue up to this area, all right? That way I know, and you know, I'm always saying glue to the edge, glue to the edge. In this situation, don't glue to the edge in that area. But you want to glue nicely around here, because you don't want that lollipop to put a little pressure on it so that it pulls up. Okay, let me flip this over, because remember I did flip it, so I want to make sure that I flip this back, and I'm going to lift this up and place this center, and I'm kind of putting it at an angle so that I can see it, so that I'm making sure that I'm putting it like straight and not angled. Okay, all right, now we can add the feet and the hands and the face. So to start off with, we want to make sure the feet are in the right direction. This is probably the only thing that is not super symmetrical. So I just want to make sure this fits. And so I'm going to line this up first and make sure the foot is in the correct direction. And that looks good. Same with this one. That looks good. So let's get those on there. And I'm just going to glue right on here. And really what I'm doing is I'm going to match these toes up. Okay. I'm going to do the same on this side. With the little toes here, I do want to make sure that I am putting this in the right direction. So if you look at these toes, There's just a slight difference. So we have this one toe is slightly different, and these are all three the same. So this is the big toe that's going to go on the inside. All right. Same with this one. This is the big toe. It's so slight that it's hard to see, but I want you to be able to know it will fit, and it's not going to look bad the other way, but that's the way it does fit. So let me just add the glue to it. And I'm really just going to put some dots on here. I'm not going to go crazy. All right. And I need to lift this up to see it a little bit better. And it fits perfect. Okay. I'm going to do the same on the other one. So flipping that over, I'm matching. There we go. We are ready to put the head on. It's just going to sit here. And what I like about this, it is sturdy. So it's going to sit out a little bit further, and it gives it dimension because you got 3 layers here, and then you have your base layer. Now, let's just flip this over. Add your glue. And I'm going to use a lot of glue for this because it is fitting to the base and it's a little heavier. So I'm adding some extra glue to make sure it stays. All right, once again, I'm going to put this to the side so I could see it a little bit better. I'm going to line up the tuft of the hair. I'm just going to slide that over a little bit, and then commit to it. Okay. All right, he's looking super cute, super cute. 2 last things. Well, actually 3. We got a few more things to do here. We want to add his hands to this. And this is where you can have a lot of fun. So you see on most of them, you can just put the hands right on the side. And if you put them on the side, it just looks like he's holding the heart or giving it to you. And that's where the common handhold. But you can add a little more fun to this by giving it what I call some emotion or some gesture. And that's by like changing your hands up a little bit. So everything you do is just slightly different, can just have another meaning to it. So you can put both hands on him where he's like, oh my, for me? Or, you know, you can put one hand up and one below to add a little interest. You could kind of hook it in like this to where it looks like he's holding on to just that area. But I really like it with one of the hands holding his face and then one holding the heart. So I'm going to put one hand down here, holding the heart, and one on his face. Now, the same thing with the toes, there is a thumb, all right? With this one, the thumb, when you're holding something, your thumbs are always at the top. So this is his thumb. So when I flip this over and add some glue to it, and I'll do the glue over here. I'm not gonna add glue to the edge. I'm just gonna do the fingertips. And so I'm doing 3 dots and then just a line here, okay? I'm going to leave this off on the rounded area because it's going to slightly hang over. So let me turn this to the side again, and I'm just going to tilt this up. That way it looks like he's holding it from underneath. Take off any extra glue while it's still wet. And then this other hand I'm going to put over here, kind of to his face. And once again, I'm just going to really do the fingertips and leaving that other area. Okay, and then that just gives him a little gesture, like a sweetness to him. All right, so we're ready for 2 more things. But before we do those 2 things, I just wanted to point out that you have a bow tie here. Now, I didn't print a red one because I didn't plan to use it. But you can always, if you want to create a boy, you could put a bow tie. You can even leave the heart off. So if it's not Valentine's Day or if it's not for somebody you love, you could leave the heart off and put a bow tie instead. Same with if you want to make it a girl, you could put the bow in the hair. You could put it on the side. So whatever you want to do, it's totally up to you. But the little bow adds a little extra oomph if you want to use it. Now we're going to add the tail, and it's totally up to you how and where you want to add the tail. Since I have the hand over here, I think what I'm going to do is add the tail to the other side. So to do this, I kind of know where I want it. I don't want it to go too far out. I want it to stay close to the body. So then I'm just going to turn this over, and you don't have to add the tail at all. It's completely up to you. But what I'm going to do is just hold this in place and add a little glue to that edge and put that on there. All right, so there we got the little tail. Now the last thing to do with this is to put our insert. You don't have to, it is optional, but honestly it shouldn't be because first of all, you can see how flimsy it is without it. What this is going to do is it's going to do two things. It's going to secure the lollipop holder so it'll stay up and it'll be able to sit even without the tabs, but it's also going to hold the lollipop in place from going back and forth. Without it, your lollipop will, I mean, it fits nicely, but it can, certain lollipops, especially if you're using a flat one, can become flimsy and fall all over the place. You may not want it if you're using some of these gourmet, but it will add security. And you can see that there is space for it over here. It's going to really just kind of sit right on top. So let's put this in. The way this works is I'm just going to add glue to one side first. So, and I'm going to add a lot of glue because I really want this to sit in there and really be secure. So I'm just putting it in the score line crease here, and I'm going to fold this up. All right, when it's attached, I want it to be flush to the ground, to the base, okay? And then, and you can even look at it this way. So if I open this back up, this edge should be flush with the score line. Okay, I'm going to do the same on the other side. So while this is drying, now the slight problem is I added glue and it's showing through in this area. However, it's going to dry clear. If I want to scrape it off, I can, but it's going to dry clear and nobody's going to see it. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. All right, now let me add glue to the rest of this. If you want to, you can just add glue on this edge so you're not gluing those whole areas. Okay, so that is an option if you want to do that. I'm kind of guesstimating the size of this. Let me just secure this. I'm going to put it in the area where the score line is. I'm going to lift this up and close it. And I'm going to hold this down because it needs to be flush on the ground. I'm not giving a lot of pressure, but then if you can't stick your finger in it, because my finger is way too big to fit in there, just grab a pen or a stick or something and then just make sure that it is attaching to the two pieces of paper are attaching to each other. Okay, so now this will sit up. Okay, and it's going to be even better once it's the glue is dry. Okay, it'll be more secure. All right, last but not least is adding our fastener. So I'm just gonna, I think I have some already open. So you're gonna get a strip of these if you are using these, and the best way to put this on is to take this and fold it together to start. You're going to get it nice and secure, and then you're going to peel away one side and then peel it off, but you're going to keep it attached. It doesn't matter which side you put it on, but now you're going to put it in the center, you know, somewhere in the face area. I've been putting them higher. However, if you're going to use it, I'm just going to put this in here for a minute. If you're going to use a flat lollipop, these can tend to be a little loose. So if you're going to use flat gourmet lollipops like this, then put the fastener a little bit lower down there. So that way I'm going to put it in the center of the face. And then what I'm going to do, let me pull this lollipop out. What I'm going to do is match up that tuft of hair in the ears, and then I'm going to smush that face together so that that fastener stays on both sides, okay? And for some reason, it does stay stronger after a long time. I don't know if that glue kind of meshes in with the paper, but I kind of found that over time, instead of loosening, it just really stays firmer. So what I'm going to do, you can see what it looks like. It will sit up perfectly. So it is a really nice sturdy little gift here. So you can see what it looks like. It looks really great. I'm going to put this lollipop in there. This is the gourmet one. I'm going to fit that right down there. I'm going to hold this, and you can see a lot of times you get a lot of stuff here, so you may have to twist it or even trim it down to cut it off so that they fit a little bit better. I made this top hole pretty big so that it can fit all the way in there, and you can see how nicely that fits. It's at the perfect height and real, but you can see how it fits. It really fits nicely in there. His little butt and then his belly. Okay, so last thing, I know I keep saying last, this is like the third time I've said last, but I want to let you know that also this comes with a couple of sheets. So you're going to get 2 full sheets. So like this is 1 full sheet. You're going to get another full sheet of sentiments that you can print out. It comes in a PDF, but you can hand and manually cut this or use like a guillotine cutter or the slide cutter. And then here's just some samples. The reason why I'm doing this is because you can make it to where you have a little extra room where you can add a little note. So this is thanks for putting up with me, and then add that to the bottom here. So and then just tie this on. You could tie a bow or tie a knot. And I'm not going to go crazy with this, but you can see you could put somebody's name or just a little message. You could put it on the inside of the lollipop to where it's, let's even try that, to where it's coming out. Let's try it. Let's try it. Let's try it. Why not, right? That actually looks kind of cute. Let me just get that bow out of the way, that ribbon. But then you can put a little message with this. So when you give it to somebody, just for you, XOXO, I like you a lot, you know, all sorts of different ones, just sending love. So it's just a nice little way to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Here's a little message for you. Happy Valentine's Day. You're a great friend and I appreciate you. All right, so hopefully, let's move this all out of the way and take a look at all of our little guys here. So it does sit up, and one last thing, if you don't want to put a lollipop in it, you can still use the insert and instead put like a little candy, a little teeny cellophane bag or something in there, and it will fit like some Starbursts or some gummies or something like that. So that could also be a cute idea. And then it could sit on somebody's desk if you have some coworkers that you want to give something to, or like a nice little Kit Kat or something. All right, so you can see that we have a whole bunch of different mice here, different colors, different gestures, and just one design can make a whole bunch of different styles. And don't forget that this matches up with our mouse card. So I hope you enjoyed this and that you check out some of our other designs, and I look forward to seeing you at our next tutorial. Take care now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.